It was Jean-Paul Sartre who famously once said that hell is other people. And let's get one thing clear, he's definitely not wrong about that. But it was the legendary auteur of the muddy and the murky psychological thriller David Fincher who dared to disagree. Fincher is a master when it comes to nitty-gritty thrillers, taking our darkest thoughts, our blackest nights, and playing with them like putty in his hands. He has consistently found ways to disturb and unnerve his audiences. The visuals are grimy and coarse, his scores sleek and pounding. His Machiavellian characters spout their discontent before our very eyes, dealing in nihilism and blood money. But when looking back at his most memorable characters, the most intriguing are those agonised by internal conflicts. Think the narrator of Fight Club or Benjamin Button. These characters are plagued by their own personal anguish. Made banal by pedestrian lifestyles they seek to reject, they remind us of what truly happens when we just stop caring. But these characters don't just exist to provide edgy guys with Halloween costumes, or incels an excuse to behave how they behave. They're here to warn us of mankind's wickedness, and what we can do to stop it from taking over.
I go downstairs and want to get a little ooh la la.
Se7en, a movie so disturbing I had to put down my comically large bowl of crisps while watching, is designed to disgust its audience. From the production designs to the visuals, to the score, to the deaths, to the characters, every edge of this movie is made to nick away at our psyches. Its chief concern? Well, you may be thinking it's the 7 deadly sins, the destructive patterns we are doomed to repeat in our daily lives. But Fincher made this film a preacher's tale, a lighthouse of warning against the darkness of our worst enemy, apathy. And if you take a look at the film's characters, you'll see just how twisted apathy can make a human being.
Somerset's climbing on the furniture.
Detective Somerset, played by Morgan Freeman, and Detective Mills, Brad Pitt, represent the film's balancing and opposing forces. Somerset is the picture of quiet control. Fincher takes great care in prioritising his vision, allowing our gaze to merge with his as we sweep the crime scene for clues. We are learning every time he's on screen. His many years on the force have worn him down, removed the sting and the bite from every case he confronts. His collected sense of control enables him to slow down, ask questions when others want solutions, and even put himself inside the mind of the killer to understand what's going on. Think of the opening shot of the film. Somerset gets ready for work in his apartment. He grabs his fresh suit from his neatly made bed, staring at himself in the mirror and drowning out the soundtrack of radio chatter, car horns, and yells from the streets outside. This is a picture of control, of routine. He's done this before, and it is as easy to him as breathing. Mills is the film's comedic relief. He has a silver tongue and a quick wit, lightening the bruised and battered load of the film.
That's fucked up.
He leaps from detail to detail with a compulsive chaos, his flippant approach and oversimplification of the killer's motives reflecting his inexperience and youth. He even refers to the sloth victim as
Our landlord's dream.
and there's the iconic
No Messiah, you're a movie of the week.
which is reserved for when he confronts the killer. But where Somerset can guide the audience's perspective, Mills tries to distract himself and us from the horror of the crimes. But there's also an innocence within him. His non-stop chatter and frequent swearing holds him back from us, like a form of protection. He seeks to hide himself away from the reek of apathy that clings to this case and to the city. Going back to Somerset's introduction, Mills's is the perfect yin to his yang. Waking up and grabbing a single tie on a hanger, he throws on a crumpled shirt and goes to stand by the window, looking out at the city. Immediately, there are some obvious contrasts here. Yes, Mills is far less organised and has much less care than his co-worker, with no consideration being taken into his morning routine. But unlike Somerset, Mills confronts the world directly, able to meet the grey eyes of an apathetic city. Somerset has been drowned by it, but since Mills is the new kid on the block, he hasn't yet been tainted by the apathy the city holds. To put it simply, Somerset is a wine man, Mills is a beer man. Somerset is happy to spend his time listening to classical music, poring over books in what is probably one of my favourite sequences ever in the library, whereas Mills is happy to read the Dante for Dummies book. But their contrasts run deeper than this, and Fincher uses them for an entirely more meaningful purpose.
In any major city, minding your own business is science.
Somerset's core philosophy can be defined by the film's bar scene. Sitting with Mills and having a drink, he tells Mills
I
that
just don't think I can continue to live in a place that embraces and nurtures apathy.
he empathises that
Apathy is a solution.
and it's easier to resort to numbness than it is to fight and to live. Pretty reasonable and pretty simple, right? But there's more to it than that for poor Somerset. Despite this outright rejection of apathy, it is something that haunts his narrative. The city drowns him in it. His work drowns him in it. His past drowns him in it.
I don't understand this place any longer.
We get the sense that this internal conflict of Somerset begins and ends with how he divorces himself from emotions. You may remember that Somerset goes to bed to the sound of a metronome's ticking. This reflects his sense of control over his own emotions, which he views as a distraction and a thing that will help him lose everything. The ticking provides a monotonous, equivocally unemotional distraction to block out these stronger sounds of emotion. He's desperate to remove any colour or life in his world. As he's learned in this business, that's something he will lose. Apathy is the solution, he tells Mills.
Why do we gotta sit here, rotting, waiting until the lunatic does it again?
Mills's core self, by contrast, is far more optimistic. He only recently relocated to this city, and has far more hope than Somerset can afford to have. In the bar scene, he critiques Somerset's beliefs, saying,
But I won't.
and I can't become like him. On the topic of Somerset quitting, Mills says that he's not quitting.
You believe these things you say. I don't.
I think you want to believe them.
Because you're quitting.
Fincher does a lot of things in this film, but he's incredibly successful at subverting the old cop, young cop trope. Mills stands as a symbol of hope in this city, holding tightly on to his still intact optimism. He's young, he's married, and he's hopeful for his future. And his wife is a character that extends this.
No matter how often I see guns, I just...
Tracy, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, is the living embodiment of the film's purer side. She's compounded with symbols of innocence if you think about it. She's a school teacher with a baby on the way. In the dinner scene, where she invites Somerset to their house for the first time, she works hard to bridge the gap between Somerset and Mills, introducing them to each other by their first names.
I'd like you to meet David.
But she plays a far more pivotal role, and not just for her husband, Mills. After discovering she's pregnant, she seeks reassurance from Somerset, forcing him to open up about his past. As a man who has shut himself off to emotions such as love and care, as well as a desire to protect others, we see his physicality change as he talks about his past partner and her abortion.
I remember thinking, how can I bring a child into a world like that?
He's desperate to get away from the conversation, but Tracy drills away his tough skin with her tears. Revealing here that he wishes his child were born, Fincher chooses this moment to remind us that the hope and optimism of people like Tracy Mills are powerful tools that are necessary to quash apathy.
I hate this city.
Speaking away from the characters for just a moment, there's a reason why you feel so uncomfortable when watching Seven. Screenwriter Andrew Kevin Walker, inspired by his move from the suburbs of Pennsylvania to New York City, was aghast at how the city succumbed to rises in crime and drug abuse. This spawned Seven. You are literally watching a film inspired by our own reality, mirroring the ways in which we deal with the difficult and the oppressive. Similarly, each scene is drenched in a copper and harsh metal hue. Everything feels too much, too detached from any sort of life. Every scene that takes place in the city was deliberately drenched with rain, reflecting this atmosphere of entrenched apathy. It feels claustrophobic, doesn't it? Coupling this with the tremendous score from Howard Shore, the film feels like it's lurking ever closer to us. It's haunting, racked with deep thrumming notes and high-pitched waves that feel like screams. Couple this with these extremely nuanced characters, and the film's vibe becomes inescapable. And we haven't even gotten to the worst of them all.
Excuse me, sir. Are you by any chance a serial killer?
Before the film reveals its killer, Mills and Somerset have truly balanced one another out. They equal each other, oppose and enthuse each other, and as things progress, they seem to feed off of one another. Mills becomes more intuitive, and Somerset becomes more emotionally open. Whilst each represents something the other does not want to confront, they have allowed their edges to merge just a little. But with these positive changes, one significant negative is birthed. Mills can't stop running off of his emotions. It's clear that Somerset sees Mills as a younger version of him, and he reminds him of the things he's lost. Thus, he tries to protect him as a consequence. He knows what emotion can do to you in this business, epitomised in the scene where Mills chases off a photographer.
Hey! I got a fucking right to be here!
Somerset tells him that...
We have to divorce ourselves from emotion.
To which Mills replies,
And I feed
Okay.
off my emotions. How's that?
Somerset seems almost wary of Mills, frightened at who this case is turning him into. The scene where they finally find their suspect's apartment is a particularly memorable one, and it reflects just how far Mills has been pushed. Mills throws his body around the building in pursuit of the killer, not caring if he takes the dangerous route or if his body gets bruised in the process. But Somerset is more deliberate, securing a backdoor route and following closely behind. We know that the killer, who goes by John Doe, has a plan in store for Mills. We know that he needs to be made the final deadly sin in this 7-part game, that he needs to become Wrath. And as we reach the film's third act, we realise this plan has been made manifest right under our noses.
Realize, Detective, the only reason that I'm here right now...
John Doe is where apathy finds its home. In the final part of the film, his gaze dominates the narrative. mingling and rotting our protagonist's gazes and sense of self. We learn of his intellect before we ever even meet him, as Somerset follows databases and eventually reads his diary entries. He feels much more like a presence as opposed to a character. One of his entries details humankind as
Sick, ridiculous puppets we are, and what a gross little stage we dance on.
that we are not what was intended. It even goes so far as to detail the time he threw up from the banality of small talk with a stranger. His sermons, as Somerset calls them, place John Doe as a perverse god, preaching to masses that apathy is the solution, as it has all but consumed him. He has rejected humanity entirely. The crazy thing about Se7en is that John Doe's plan is taking place from the moment you press play on the film. In fact, it's foreshadowed from the opening credits, which play over the instrumental of Closer by 9 Inch Nails, with only the lyric, "You get me closer to God," being used. It reflects this idea that he, like apathy, thrives off of a betrayal of values. By giving in to a sin, we are left with nothing but numb detachment. It may satiate a momentary pleasure, but the apathy is longer lasting. What's perhaps even crazier is that we actually see John Doe much earlier in the film's first few stages. In several blink and you'll miss it moments, Doe can be spotted in the backgrounds of several scenes, such as the, shall we say, adult shop. He even pretends to be a photographer, harassing Mills in the film's second act. He is desperate to make his plan complete, pushing Mills and fine-tuning his plan to the nth degree. And when we finally reach the film's concluding sequence, Doe's realised plan is more haunting than we could ever imagine.
That envy is my sin.
Oh, what's in the box?
As Mills and Somerset drive Doe to their collective fate, Doe speaks of his purpose, that who he is means
Absolutely nothing.
But more interestingly still, his comments towards Mills are borderline obsessive, almost lust-laden. Doe tells Mills,
You're only alive because I didn't kill you.
"Remember that, for the rest of what life I've allowed you to have," echoing an earlier scene where Doe, his identity still concealed, almost shoots Mills but flees the scene. This predatory sense of control is Fincher's way of symbolising humanity's ever-present urge to sin, to corrupt our usually unshakable morals. More than a character, Doe becomes Eden's serpent, whispering within us all to bite the apple. It's only after the final stages of Doe's plan are complete, stages that are very outside the box, if you will,
What's in the fucking box?
that Fincher's moral message truly comes to fruition.
The world is a fine place, and worth fighting for.
By the film's end, Fincher has left not one character untouched or unchanged. Tracy is dead, Mills devastated, Doe dead, and Somerset numb. Fincher has taken them to the brink of endurable agony and left them there. But why? Why would he want to put them, and us by extension, through torture? Because he wants us to care. He never wants us to stop caring. If we look back at Se7en as a whole, each character is touched by apathy in some sort of way. Even the once hopeful Mills, who had such a promising future ahead of him, is now enduring beyond tolerable agony. But even after the sins of the day are done, the world keeps on turning. Plants keep on growing, and we keep on walking forward. Like Somerset, it's easy to appear as though we've given up and given in. But the truth is that deep down, we never should and we never have. Because even if apathy is running through our society like weeds, we always have to fight against it.